Mom texted, "We're skipping your son's birthday. Money's tight." I said, "No worries." But a week later I saw a Facebook post. All of them at the amusement park. My son whispered, "They forgot me again." That night I cut them off. By morning my phone was blowing up. By 7 a.m. my dad was at my door, furious. My mom's text came in the night before my son's birthday. "We're skipping Mason's party this year. Money's tight." No explanation. No apology. Just that. I stared at it for a while. Not because I didn't believe her, I did. Things hadn't been great for them financially lately. My dad took early retirement, and my sister Kelsey kept bouncing between jobs she couldn't hold for more than 6 months. So I responded simply, "No worries. Maybe next year." But when I put my phone down, something about it didn't sit right. It wasn't just that they were skipping it. It was the fact that no one had even asked what time the party was. No one had RSVP'd. No one had mentioned it at all in the last 2 weeks. It was Mason's 9th birthday. The first year he'd asked for a real party. Nothing huge, just pizza, cake, and a rented bounce house in our backyard. He even made hand-drawn invitations. He gave one to my parents. Gave one to Aunt Kelsey and her kids. I watched him place the invite in my mom's purse with both hands. They said, "We'll try at the time." And then, silence. Until that text. So I let it go. I filled the yard with balloons. We got the bounce house. My husband grilled burgers. A few school friends came, some neighbors too. Mason smiled, but I could tell he kept glancing at the gate, hoping it'd swing open and his cousins would come running in. They never did. Later that night, after we cleaned up, I was lying in bed scrolling through Facebook. That's when I saw it. A photo of my sister. Another of my parents. All smiles. Behind them, roller coasters. Funnel cakes. Giant stuffed animals. The caption, "Best family day ever." Tagged, Kelsey. My mom. My dad. Her kids. No mention of Mason. No mention of his birthday. I stared at it for maybe 5 whole minutes before my chest started to feel tight. Then Mason came into the room holding his favorite blanket. "They forgot me again," he whispered. That was the last straw. I kissed his head, tucked him into our bed, and went to the kitchen. I pulled out my laptop. Logged into the shared business account. My husband and I run a local contracting company. Guess who we've been paying for years? My dad, my mom, and Kelsey. They all had little roles. Bookkeeping, field support, light marketing. It wasn't much, but it helped them stay afloat. I drafted 3 emails. All the same subject line, effective immediately. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. I woke up to 47 missed calls. 13 from my mom. 9 from Kelsey. 21 from my dad. And 4 from numbers I didn't recognize. The voicemails were chaotic. Some angry, some panicked. A few sounded like they were mid-argument while leaving the message. I didn't listen to any of them. I just made coffee and sat outside while Mason slept in. My husband, Nate, came out a little while later. He asked if I was sure. I said I was. By 7 a.m. someone was banging on our front door like the house was on fire. It was my dad. He came in red-faced and pacing, holding a printout of the email I sent. My mom was behind him, trying to get a word in but failing because he was already yelling. "You can't just fire your own family," he said. I told him that I didn't fire my family. I fired 3 employees who no longer fit the values of our company. He laughed and said I was being emotional, that we had no right to punish them for missing a kid's party. Then Mason walked into the room, still rubbing his eyes. And my dad looked at him like he didn't even recognize him. He didn't say happy birthday. Not even a late one. I asked them both why they hadn't just been honest. Why lie about money and then go blow it all at the amusement park? My mom started rambling about already promised plans, and how the kids had been looking forward to it. She said they just didn't want to disappoint anyone. I said, "And Mason isn't anyone to you?" That shut her up. They left soon after that. Not quietly. My dad slammed the door so hard that a frame fell off the wall. By the end of that day, Kelsey had posted a long Facebook rant about how I was abusing my position of power to destroy my own family, and how she was a single mom just trying to survive. She didn't mention that we'd been paying her for nearly a year to do a job she barely showed up for. Comments poured in. A few mutual friends called me selfish. But more people reached out privately to say they understood. Some shared similar stories. How family uses blood as a shield to get away with hurting people who don't deserve it. That night, Mason asked if his cousins were mad at him. I told him no. I said they were just busy right now, but it wasn't his fault. He asked me what cutting people off meant. I told him it means choosing peace, even if it feels lonely at first. What I didn't tell him was that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. It was just the first time I decided I wasn't going to let it slide. And they had no idea how far I was willing to go. I didn't cry. Not when they didn't show up. Not when Mason whispered that they forgot him again. Not even when I saw the Facebook post of them all smiling under the flashing lights of the amusement park while my kid sat at home waiting by the gate. But the next day I did something I'd never done before. I stopped making excuses. After Nate left for the job site and Mason settled into the living room with his new Lego set, I sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and drew 2 columns. One side I labeled, add value. The other, take away. Sounds cold, I know. But I needed clarity. When emotions get loud, facts are quiet. And the facts were right in front of me. In the last 6 years, my dad had consulted maybe 3 times. We'd paid him monthly. He stopped returning our weekly update emails over a year ago. My mom had been on payroll for administrative support. Except she never filed a single report on time. Nate's assistant ended up cleaning up her messes more times than I could count. That one hit hardest. We brought her in when she said she was drowning. She was supposed to handle scheduling for our maintenance team. It turned into excuses. No shows. Missed calls. And we still paid her, above market rate, because she was family. When I finished the list, there were 3 names in the add value column. All outside hires. None related to me. It was the kind of realization that sits on your chest like a stone. I opened my laptop and forwarded everything to Nate. He was already on board, but I wanted it in writing. Full terminations. We had every right. No contracts. No obligations. Just family who'd treated us like a backup generator whenever their lives shorted out. While Nate started working on the formal letters, I started working on our vendors. My mom had contacts in our supply chain. Old friends she looped into our system when she first joined. I emailed every one of them personally. Thanked them for their time. Let them know they'd now be dealing directly with me and Nate. Then came the worst part, Mason. He asked me that evening if I thought his grandma would call. I told him gently that sometimes when people show you who they are over and over, you have to believe them. He didn't say anything back. Just nodded. Quietly. I posted a short message on my social media. Not dramatic. Just clear. We're raising our son to recognize when he's being valued and when he's being used. Family doesn't mean immunity. Respect is earned. That's when the wildfire started. Apparently my message set off alarms. My aunt, who I hadn't talked to in years, met me out of nowhere. She said, "Took you long enough." I didn't even know what she meant at first. But then she sent me screenshots. A group chat between my mom, Kelsey, and a few extended relatives. They were talking about the party. Or mocking it, really. Bet she served frozen pizza. Kid's too sensitive. He's gonna be soft like her. Glad we went to Six Flags. Mason's party looked like a garage sale. I read it twice, not because I was shocked, but because I had to process just how deep the rot went. These weren't strangers. These were people who used to babysit me. People who were at my wedding. People who held Mason when he was born. And yet there it was. Written in plain words. They didn't care. They never had. Worse, they were amused by his pain. I showed Nate the screenshots. He stood up and paced for a minute, fists clenched. Then he sat back down and said one thing, "We're done." But it wasn't over yet. I found out that Kelsey had contacted one of our biggest commercial clients, a property management group we'd been servicing for almost 4 years. She told them we were disorganized, that our team was falling apart, and she didn't want to be associated with it anymore. She said it in a way that implied she was the one stepping away from us, not the other way around. The client forwarded me the email asking if we were okay. I called them. I told the truth. Sent them the termination letter. Attached the attendance logs. The missed deadlines. I told them Kelsey hadn't been involved in months and we'd let her go formally. They kept the contract. But warned me, any more chaos they'd walk. I realized then she hadn't just been lazy. She'd been bitter. Bitter that I finally chose boundaries over blood. She wasn't trying to survive. She was trying to make me pay for drawing a line. But I wasn't finished drawing lines. I had one more to make. A final one. And they had no idea what was coming next. 3 days after we fired them, the certified letters were delivered. I made sure they were official. Termination notices, no emotion, just facts. We cited non-performance, lack of communication, and actions damaging to the business. Nate signed them all. I attached records of missed deadlines and incident reports. I didn't want a single hole they could poke through. Still, I knew what would come next. My parents had always lived in this bubble where consequences didn't apply. And when someone finally held up a mirror, they blamed the reflection. That afternoon, Kelsey posted again. This time she tagged me. She's destroying our family over a kid's party. She fired her parents. Who does that? She's unstable. Petty. Vindictive. We were nothing but good to her. Her followers, mostly her friends who had no idea what she actually did for a living, jumped in to back her up. One of them even said I'd probably brainwashed Mason into hating his own family. What they didn't know was that Mason had walked past me that morning while I was reading those comments, and asked, "Do they even love me?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Later that night, my mom called from a different number. I picked up only to stop the cycle. She didn't even say hello. "We helped you build everything you have. We sacrificed so much. And this is how you repay us." I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I just asked one thing. "Do you know what day Mason's birthday is?" Silence. I waited. He didn't know. Then she said something about how I was weaponizing a child and being dramatic over one missed party. And that's when I told her the truth, that this had never been about just one day. It was about every day they made him feel invisible. Every year they forgot his birthday. Every holiday they left early without saying goodbye. Every time he waited at the window for people who never came. And now they were watching him grow up, still thinking they were entitled to his love. That I would force him to hug people who never showed up unless there was something in it for them. Not anymore. I told her I was done playing family with people who couldn't even pretend to care. Done handing out paychecks to people who mocked my son in private group chats. Done waiting for them to become decent. I blocked the number. The next morning, a delivery truck pulled up. I figured it was something Nate ordered for the yard. But when the driver opened the back, my heart dropped a little. It was a huge wooden sign, custom made. Bright red letters spelled out, "Happy belated birthday, Mason. We love you, Grandma and Grandpa." There were 2 giant teddy bears tied to the base. A late apology. Or a guilt offering. Probably both. I didn't even let Mason see it. I told the driver we didn't order it and he took it back. Later I got another voicemail. My dad this time. "You're embarrassing us. You're making a mistake. You're choosing isolation over family. You'll regret it." No, I wouldn't. Because here's what they didn't understand. When you teach a child that love has to be earned, that it can be withheld, mocked, or ignored, you create a lifetime of doubt. I wasn't going to let Mason carry that. So I cut them off. Cling. And I started making plans to do one more thing. Something final. Something they wouldn't see coming. I was going to make sure they couldn't use anything we built. Not our business, not our reputation, not our name, ever again. By the end of the week, every trace of them was gone from our system. We changed all company passwords, shut down their email accounts, revoked every login and access code they had. Payroll, scheduling, vendor portals, everything. Nate handled the digital side and I cleaned up the rest. But there was still one place they had their hands in. Our office. They didn't come in often, but when they did, they had keys. My dad liked to show up unannounced and act like he was doing spot checks. Mostly so he could wander around and criticize the way we organized things. Kelsey used her key to sneak in after hours and print personal documents. He thought we didn't know. So I had the locks changed. Not just at the front door. Every internal room. Every file cabinet. I even added cameras to the back entrance. Paranoia? Maybe. But when someone stabs you once, you don't leave your back exposed again. That Monday morning, Nate went to a job site and I stayed at the office to train the new admin we hired. Her name was Beth, mid-40s, sharp, kind, and actually qualified. In her first hour, she'd already done more than my mom did in a week. Around 11:30, I heard banging at the front door. I looked up at the monitor and there they were. My mom, my dad, and Kelsey. All 3 of them standing there like it was just another Monday. I didn't answer. I watched from the camera as they rang the bell, knocked harder, then started yelling. Not just at the door, at passing cars, at the building, at the air. Like if they screamed loud enough, they could reverse everything. My phone started buzzing. First a call, then a flood of texts. You locked us out. We helped you start this place. You're out of control. Come open the door. They stayed outside for 30 minutes. Long enough for the new receptionist to get uncomfortable. I told her not to worry. Then my dad did something that nearly pushed me over the edge. He pulled out a white envelope and slid it under the front door. When I opened it later, it was a handwritten note. No apology. No explanation. Just a demand. We're entitled to severance and back pay. You'll hear from a lawyer. That was it. No mention of Mason. Not a word about missing his birthday. Nothing about what they said in that group chat or the lies they spread to our clients. Just money. That night, Nate and I sat down with a business attorney. We explained everything. The jobs they held, the work they didn't do, the financial records, the messages, the harassment. The lawyer read the letter from my dad and barely blinked. You owe them nothing, he said. But I'd get ahead of this. Make it official. So I did. I filed to restructure the company under a new name. I transferred ownership of assets, signed everything under Nate and me only. The business would remain ours, but the paper trail tying them to it would disappear completely. The next day, I pulled out a storage box from the attic labeled family. Old birthday cards. Photos. Letters. Drawings Mason had made for Grandma. I kept the drawings. Everything else went in the trash. Because this wasn't temporary anymore. This wasn't a fight we'd get past. This was the part where I stopped mourning people who were still alive. The part where I chose Mason, not out of spite, not out of anger, but because no one else ever had. They thought I'd cave. They didn't understand. I wasn't just cutting them off. I was erasing them. They didn't go quietly. A week after the lockout, I got a certified letter from a lawyer. Not theirs, just some cheap family attorney they must have found online. The letter was sloppily written and vague, accusing us of wrongful termination and emotional damages. It demanded a settlement and warned of reputational consequences if we didn't respond. I didn't. Our attorney did. Sent back a detailed packet with timelines, pay records, performance logs, and a short note. We will not be intimidated. This is our final communication. We never heard from that lawyer again, but my family kept pushing. They tried to go around us, called 2 of our subcontractors, telling them we were in financial trouble, hoping to plant seeds of doubt. One of them called Nate directly and told him everything. The other didn't even respond. They tried showing up at my son's school. That was the last line. Mason had a student showcase that week. His science project, something he'd worked on for a month. He was so proud of it. I told the school to only let in people on the approved list. Just us. My mom showed up anyway. She told the front office she was his grandmother and they almost let her through. But the secretary had just seen my note that morning and asked her to wait. They called me. I came right away. She was sitting in the lobby holding a gift bag. I asked her what she thought she was doing. She said she was just there to support her grandson. I asked her if she even knew what his project was. She didn't answer. I walked her out myself. Mason never saw her. After that, we sent an official cease and desist. Our lawyer delivered it in person. It was done. No more phone calls. No more emails. No more letters. No more family. The next months were quieter. Lighter even. Mason started to come out of that sad little shell they'd pushed him into. He stopped asking about them. Stopped waiting for them. We spent his birthday again, just us. A small camping trip, stargazing, hot dogs on sticks. I caught him smiling at nothing. Just happy. Safe. A few days later, I ran into a distant cousin at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me. You know they're telling people you stole everything from them, right? That you ruined their lives. I just smiled. They're not wrong, I said. Because I did ruin the version of their lives where they get to take and never give. The version where they mock my son behind his back and still get invited to Christmas. The version where they treat blood like currency and expect it to be worth more than decency. I burned that version to the ground. For the first time in my life, I wasn't keeping the peace. I was the peace. And they'll never get it back.